Alright, so this is Golden Axe for the Sega Master System. Now Golden Axe came out in the arcades in 1989, and it came out to the Sega Genesis Mega Drive the same year. Now, obviously in 1989, this is the first year that the Sega Genesis came out to North America, and it wasn't even out in Europe yet, so it's safe to say the majority of Sega fans who liked games like Golden Axe in the arcades probably didn't actually have a Sega Genesis yet, so it definitely made sense to release the game on the older 8-bit Sega Master System at the same time. I've mentioned in the past in other videos how when I was a kid I wanted an NES, and all my friends had an NES, and I bugged my parents to get an NES, and finally when Christmas of whatever it was, 88 or something came around, me and my cousin both got Sega Master Systems. And it kind of made sense because my dad worked at Sears, and Sears sold the Sega Master System. And also my uncle was a little bit of a gamer, and obviously he was into sports games, and the Sega stuff was geared towards an older audience at the time. I can kind of see how he thought the Nintendo was kind of a child's toy compared to the Sega stuff at the time. So not only did he get a Sega Master System, but I got a Sega Master System. The only difference is that when I got it, I cried like a little baby, and until my parents took it back and got me an NES. So growing up, I had an NES, and my cousin had a Sega Master System, and there's a few games that really stood out, a few games that I remember back in the day, and this is definitely one of them. This is a game that my uncle even played a lot, and so I remember my uncle playing this game. And I always remember it standing out graphically. I mean, the size of the sprites and the colors in the sprites definitely stands out more than anything. It looks really good for an 8-bit game, no doubt there. So yeah, the graphics definitely stand out in this one as one of the Sega Master System games that I remember from back in the day, and it's pretty good on the Sega Master System. Didn't take me long to figure out there are a few shortcomings from the Genesis version. Obviously you would expect the graphics aren't quite as good, and the music is not quite as good, or the sound effects and voices aren't there at all, but yeah, there's also some surprising differences. This is one player only. Obviously on the Sega Genesis, 2-player simultaneous, and you could pick your character. You had 3 different playable characters. In the Master System, you don't pick your character. You only play as Axe Battler. So you can only pick Axe Battler. The other 2 playable characters aren't in this game, and you think that that would be the biggest issue with this game. Like I said, it's only 1 player, and you can't pick your playable character. But unfortunately, that's not the worst thing about this game. The worst thing about this game is the controls. Now, I'm not going to go as far to say that the controls, ruin the game or anything like that, but they definitely take some getting used to. In my opinion, the controls are probably the biggest problem with this game. I mean, yeah, it's only 1 player, and it doesn't have as many selectable players, but it's kind of expected. It's kind of expected that the game's not going to have as much stuff in it as the Genesis version has. But the controls, they definitely take some getting used to. I don't know how well it's coming across in the video, but there's just something really laggy about the movement and the controls. You can't really move your character around as fast or as fluidly as you can in the Genesis version, and so a lot of times you get stuck behind enemies, and there's not enough time to turn around and attack. Everything's just a little bit sluggish in the controls. This is obviously something I don't remember as a kid, like once again, in 1989, I was, 8 years old at the time, and I don't know if it's just something I didn't notice or something I forgot, but yeah, definitely the controls make this game a lot harder than it should be. So, I'm going to do my best to get as far as we can get, and we'll just take it from there. I mean, I'm not going to be getting to the end of this game, I can tell you that much, but we'll see where we can get. The controls themselves on the Master System is pretty simple. Obviously, there's only 2 buttons. So here you have an attack button and a jump button. The only thing I had to figure out was how to do magic, not having the manual. I was thinking, it's going to be something like up in 1 or down in 1. But no, it's just 1 and 2, both buttons at the same time, does the magic. The magic in this game, oddly enough, despite the fact you can't pick your playable character, you can pick the magic. So all the magic spells are actually in this game, surprisingly. As you can see, when you die, you do continue on the spot, which is the only saving grace of this game, because, like I said, it's already hard enough as it is. The music, as I mentioned, is pretty good. I've said it before in other videos. The Sega Master System's audio capabilities were a little bit simpler than maybe some of the other 8-bit machines on the market at the time. But that said, they did a pretty good job here. The music is pretty good. It's the same music you'll recognize from the arcade and the Sega Genesis version, just in a simpler PSG form of the Sega Master System. So I think I'm definitely getting used to the controls here. I mean, once you get used to the fact that they are a little bit sluggish and you kind of really have to keep on top of the enemies, you'll start to do a little bit better. So I think if I was to go back now and start over, I could definitely do much better. So yeah, I mean, the controls aren't perfect, but I think you can get used to them. And I mean, other than the control issues, I think they did a really good job on the Sega Master System port. Like I said, this is a 3rd generation console, 8-bit console, and I think they did a really good job. But it's definitely hard to recommend this version now that you can get the Genesis version. I mean, obviously, we know the Genesis version has better graphics and sound, and also that extra gameplay with the extra playable characters and the 2-player mode. And on top of all of that, like I said, it's easier to find. It's going to be a lot cheaper, especially in North America where the Sega Master System wasn't as popular. So I think if you're a huge Sega Master System fan or you're collecting for the Sega Master System, this is still a good game. But obviously if you just want to play Golden Axe, you're better off just to get the Genesis version.